There is a cry ancient as the wind and fresh as the morning sun that echoes through the chambers of the human heart. It is the call to resurrection, the yearning to rise anew, to cast off the garments of yesterday and to step into the radiant light of today's possibility. Every soul, no matter how weighed down by sorrow or shadow, carries within it this longing to be made new. We see it in the child who, after stumbling, insists on trying again. We see it in the weary laborer who, after a night of rest, greets the dawn with a fresh hope. We see it in the broken-hearted one who, through tears, whispers, "Perhaps tomorrow will be kinder." This longing for resurrection is not mere sentiment. It is the pulse of the eternal law of renewal. Burial and resurrection are written into the very fabric of creation. The seed must be buried in the dark earth before it can crack open and reach for the sky. The caterpillar surrenders to the stillness of the cocoon before wings can unfold. The winter strips the trees bare, yet hidden in the silence is the promise of spring. So too does every human life carry seasons of burial and resurrection. And yet the burial is often misunderstood. Many shrink from it, mistaking it for an ending rather than a beginning. They clutch at what must be laid down: the old identities, the weary stories, the regrets of years gone by. They wear them like heavy cloaks, forgetting that resurrection requires a casting off. To cling to the old self is to remain entombed. Each one of us has an old self we are meant to bury, the self that speaks in the language of fear. "I am not enough. I have failed too many times. I will never rise again." The self that rehearses old sorrows binds itself to yesterday's mistakes and trembles before the thought of tomorrow. This self is not the truth of who you are. It is the husk, the shell, the remnant. It is the mask worn for too long, mistaken for the face beneath. But the law of resurrection calls, "Come forth." Just as Lazarus heard the voice of the Christ commanding him to rise from the tomb, so too does every soul hear the quiet, steady call to emerge. You may have walked through valleys of shadow, you may have been buried in the dust of disappointment, but still the law holds burial is not the end. It is the sacred beginning of resurrection. Think of the times you felt pressed to the ground, when life seemed to fold you into silence, when doors closed and paths disappeared. Did it not feel like burial? Yet within that very stillness, something greater stirred. The divine gardener does not bury a seed to destroy it, but to release its hidden life. And so it is with you. Beloved soul, you stand at the threshold of your own resurrection. The old story has served its time, but it no longer defines you. The past has no chain strong enough to bind what is destined to rise. And the rising does not come by might alone, but by word, spoken word, creative word, the decree of spirit through your own lips. For resurrection is not passive. It is not a waiting for circumstance to shift, but a bold answering of the call. The stone rolls away when the word of life is spoken. When you dare to declare, "I rise," the tomb of yesterday begins to tremble. When you proclaim, "I am made new," the grave clothes of regret fall powerless. This is why you are here now, listening, opening, receiving. The Spirit within you has brought you to this threshold because the time of resurrection is at hand. Pause now. Breathe deeply. With every breath, feel the stirring of life within the whisper of the eternal law that cannot be silenced. Say within yourself, softly but firmly, "The old has no hold upon me. I am called to rise. I hear the voice of renewal and I answer. I awaken to the power of my word, and through it I step into resurrection." As these words take root and you know that you have begun, the soil has shifted, the seed has stirred, and resurrection has already unfolded in unseen realms. You are not who you were yesterday. You are not bound to the failures of the past. You are the rising one, the awakening one, the one who dares to speak life over what seemed lifeless. The call has gone forth, and you have answered. Resurrection is yours. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word carried the power of creation. Before mountains rose, before rivers carved their way through the earth, before stars adorned the heavens, the Word moved upon the invisible and gave it form. This is no ancient myth alone. It is a living truth, pulsing still through the fabric of existence. Your word is your wand. With every utterance you cast forth seeds into the fertile soil of life. Whether whispered in secret or spoken boldly before others, each word takes root, shaping reality before it unfolds. You may believe circumstances dictate what you say, yet the reverse is true. Your speech is the sculptor, and circumstances are the clay. Consider the gardener. She walks to her field holding seeds in her hand. She does not plant thorns if she desires roses, nor weeds if she longs for wheat. She plants with intention, knowing what she sows will surely spring forth. And yet, how often do we scatter words without thought, as though they bore no consequence? We say, "I never succeed," and wonder why doors close. We murmur, "I am always unlucky," and are surprised when misfortune follows. We lament nothing ever changes, and then live bound to the cycle we ourselves have decreed. But listen, beloved soul, the universe is faithful to the law of the seed. What you sow, you reap. What you decree, you see. Speech is never idle. It is the invisible architect arranging the unseen before the visible shifts. Every word, like a seed, contains within it the power of life or death, expansion or decay, triumph or defeat. There are two ways of speech: the passive murmur of the one who believes themselves subject to fate, and the authoritative decree of the one who knows their oneness with divine law. Passive speech flows carelessly like seed scattered on barren ground. Authoritative decree, however, is speech rooted in conviction, aligned with truth, and spoken as law. The first entangles us in repetition. The second sets us free into resurrection. Let me share a story. A woman once came to me burdened with debt and despair. Every word she spoke was heavy with lack. "I can't afford that. Money never comes my way. I'll always be behind." Her speech was the echo of her fear, and her fear became flesh in her circumstances. I told her gently but firmly, "Change your words and you will change your world. Begin to speak not from your lack, but from your source. Say, 'God is my instant, constant, and abundant supply. Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways.' Speak it until it feels true." She resisted at first, for it seemed a lie to her mind. But words, when repeated, are like rain upon the soil. They soften the ground until the seed can enter. She persisted, affirming daily, "I walk in abundance. I am supplied." Weeks passed, and doors she had never imagined began to open. A forgotten debt was repaid. A new opportunity arose. Her financial landscape shifted because her speech had shifted. She had traded the language of lack for the decree of abundance, and the law was faithful to her seed. Do you see you hold within your tongue the power to shape your destiny? Every phrase you utter is a brushstroke on the canvas of your life. The question is not whether you are creating with your words, but what you are creating. Are you sowing thorns or roses, weeds or wheat? Perhaps you recall times when words spoken over you by another became chains. A teacher who said you will never succeed. A parent who murmured, "You are difficult, you are not enough." These words planted in the soil of your young heart may have grown into tangled vines of doubt. But beloved, remember this: no word of man can override the eternal word of spirit within you. You may uproot every thorn, every weed through the decree of truth. Begin to notice your words. Do not let them slip from your lips as careless arrows. Guard them as treasures, for they carry the weight of destiny. When fear whispers, choose not to echo it. When doubt tempts you, choose not to decree it. Instead, align your speech with the unseen truth that already exists in the divine realm. Say, "I am whole, I am guided, I am provided for, I walk in divine favor. My path is straight before me." This is not wishful thinking, it is creative law. You are not begging reality to change. You are authoritatively calling forth what already exists in spirit. You are giving permission for the invisible to become visible. Think of the sculptor standing before a block of marble. To the untrained eye, it is only stone. But the sculptor sees the form within, and with chisel and strike, he brings it forth. So too does your word strike against the formless carving out the shape of your destiny. Passive speech leaves the stone untouched. Decree shapes it into beauty. The spoken word is both seed and sculptor rain, and chisel gardener and artist. To awaken to this is to awaken to your true power. You are not a victim of circumstance, but the living vessel of creative law. Pause with me here. Place your hand upon your heart. Breathe deeply and let us plant together a new decree. My word is my wand. I speak with authority, and what I decree comes to pass. Every word I speak sows seeds of life, joy, and abundance. I choose my words with wisdom, and my destiny blossoms in beauty. The law is faithful to my decree. It is done. It is so. Rest in this truth. Let it settle into you like seed in fertile soil. Already unseen roots are forming. Already life stirs beneath the surface. Already the harvest begins. You are the sower. You are the sculptor. You are the one whose destiny unfolds by word. There is within each of us a voice that whispers of defeat, a voice that cloaks itself in reason, but speaks only in chains. It is the voice of the false self, the ego born of fear, shame, and memory. It clings to old wounds like a miser clutching coins, replaying past mistakes, repeating old stories, and insisting that what was will forever dictate what is. This false self is not your true identity. It is the shadow, the mask, the echo of yesterday's sorrows. And yet many live their entire lives imprisoned by it, mistaking its whispers for truth. Think of the child who is told, "You are too loud, too clumsy, too much." That child grows into an adult who silences their own laughter, who apologizes for taking up space, who walks small in a world that was meant to be embraced boldly. Or consider the one who was told, "You are not enough. You will never succeed." That seed planted in tender soil grows into a thorny vine that strangles possibility. The adult may try, may strive, may labor, but always with a heavy chain of not enough rattling at their feet. The false self is skilled at disguises. Sometimes it dresses as humility, whispering, "Don't expect too much. Settle, stay safe." Sometimes it comes dressed in pride, shouting, "You must prove yourself, you must strive endlessly, or you will be nothing." But in every mask, its purpose is the same: to keep you bound to yesterday, to convince you that your chains are unbreakable. But beloved, hear this truth: The false self is not you. It is the husk, not the seed, the shadow, not the light. It is the voice of the tomb, not the song of resurrection. Imagine for a moment a prisoner who has sat so long in darkness that they have forgotten the world outside. The cell door is unlocked, but they do not rise to leave, for they have convinced themselves that bondage is their nature. They have forgotten their wings. This is the condition of one who lives under the rule of the false self. And yet, even in the depths of such imprisonment, the true self remains. Like a flame that refuses to be extinguished, the divine spark burns quietly within, waiting for the breath of truth to fan it into brightness. The chains may rattle, but they cannot silence the call of spirit that says, "You are free. You are whole. You are mine." The chains of the false self are forged from fear, shame, and trauma. Fear whispers of danger in every step, convincing you that change is perilous. Shame covers you like a shroud, insisting that you are unworthy of love, success, or joy. Trauma etches memories into the mind, replaying them until they become scripts that seem impossible to rewrite. But hear this: words can cut through chains. Just as the spoken word is seed, it is also sword sharp enough to sever the ties of yesterday. When you declare, "I am not my past, I am free, I am whole," you strike at the links that have bound you. When you affirm, "I am worthy, I am beloved, I rise," you loosen the grip of shame. Every chain is made of words once spoken by others, by yourself, by echoes of the past. And every chain can be broken by words newly spoken, truth declared, light invoked, spirit expressed. I once knew a man who lived in the shadow of a single phrase. His father, in a moment of anger, had said to him as a boy, "You will never amount to anything." Though he grew, though he worked, though he achieved much, he carried those words like iron shackles. In every accomplishment, he felt the sting of doubt. In every failure, he heard the echo, "You will never amount to anything." When he came to me, his eyes were weary. "How do I break free from words that have haunted me all my life?" he asked. I told him, "You cannot silence them with effort. You cannot outwork them. You must speak a higher word. You must decree over yourself the truth that cancels the lie." And so he began. Every morning, he declared, "I am a child of the Most High. I walk in purpose. I am guided, equipped, and destined for greatness." At first, the words felt foreign, hollow, but he persisted, and the more he spoke, the weaker the old chain became. Until one day, the echo of his father's words fell silent, drowned out by the steady, living decree of truth. He had broken his chains with the sword of the word. Beloved, you too can break free. Whatever words have bound you, whatever false self has clothed you in chains, you are not condemned to remain there. The law of spirit has already declared your freedom. The question is, will you agree? Will you dare to speak life where death has spoken? Freedom, where bondage has whispered truth, where lies have reigned. Pause now. Close your eyes. Feel the weight of every chain you have carried: fear, shame, regret, doubt. And now in the stillness, begin to whisper, "I am not my past. I am not my wounds. I am not my failures. I am the child of spirit, whole and free. I shake off the chains of the false self. I rise as my true self, clothed in light, crowned in love. The voice of truth within me is stronger than the voice of fear. I am free." Speak it again. Speak it with authority. Feel the chains begin to loosen. Hear the rattle as they fall away. You are not bound. You are not small. You are not broken. You are the radiant, eternal expression of divine life, awakening now to the fullness of who you are. And the false self, with all its chains, has no power to hold you any longer. The tongue, so small, so unassuming, yet it holds the force of creation and the sharpness of destruction. It is at once a sword and a scalpel. With one stroke, it can sever the cords that bind us to falsehood, and with another, it can perform the delicate surgery of the soul, removing what no longer belongs so that new life may flourish. Scripture tells us life and death are in the power of the tongue. This is no metaphor, it is a law. Every utterance carries weight. Every syllable is a blade. We have been given this instrument not to wound ourselves, not to deepen the scars of the false self, but to cut away illusion, to prune away the dead branches, and to reveal the living tree within. Picture the gardener standing before her vineyard. She loves the vine, but she sees where branches have grown wild, where leaves choke the fruit where rot has begun. She does not weep or despair, she takes the pruning knife. With careful cuts, she removes what is lifeless so that what is living may thrive. This is the work of the tongue when guided by spirit. Words become the knife that prunes the soul, cutting away every lie, every fear, every chain. Have you ever noticed how a single declaration can shift an entire atmosphere? When one stands and says, "I forgive," bitterness loses its grip. When another declares, "I am healed," the body begins to align with wholeness. When a weary heart speaks, "I choose joy," light breaks through the shadows. These are not empty affirmations, they are precise cuts, guided by spirit, slicing away what is false to make room for what is true. But the tongue is also a sword, not a weapon of violence, but a weapon of light. It is the sword that cuts through illusion, that slices the veil of fear, that strikes down the enemy of doubt. When Jesus stood in the wilderness, tempted by shadows, he did not reason with them. He spoke, "It is written." His tongue became the sword of truth, and the lies fell powerless. So it is with you. When fear whispers, "You are not enough," your sword is ready. "I am more than enough, for I am one with the source of all." When lack hisses, "You will never have enough," your tongue cuts clean. "The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. My supply is abundant and overflowing." When shame presses upon you with old accusations, you lift your blade. There is therefore now no condemnation for those who are in Christ. I am free. With every declaration, chains shatter. With every decree, shadows flee. The sword of your tongue is sharper than every lie. But remember, a sword without direction can wound as easily as it heals. How often do we use our tongues against ourselves, speaking curses instead of blessings, reinforcing chains instead of breaking them? We mutter, "I'll never change. I always fail. Nothing ever works out for me." These are not harmless words. They are cuts to the soul, deepening the wounds of the false self. Beloved, take heed. The same blade that can prune away fear can also entrench it if wielded carelessly. This is why the practice of conscious speech is holy work. You are entrusted with a divine instrument. Use it with reverence. Use it with precision. I recall a woman who carried the deep wound of abandonment. She often said, "People always leave me. I'm destined to be alone." With every repetition, she carved that truth deeper into her life. Until one day, she learned to wield her tongue anew. She began declaring, "I am never alone. Divine love surrounds me. I am cherished. I am chosen. I am whole." At first, it felt like lifting a sword too heavy for her hands. But slowly, her words cut through the thickets of her pain. Old wounds healed, new relationships bloomed. She had wielded the scalpel of her tongue to remove the lie and the sword to destroy its power. And now I invite you, take up your own sword. Let your tongue perform its holy work. Close your eyes for a moment and speak aloud with me. My tongue is a sword of light. My words are guided by spirit. I cut away every chain of the false self. I prune every branch that does not bear fruit. I speak only what is true, what is good, what is life. My words are sharp with power and tender with healing. With my tongue, I shape my destiny and I rise. Do you feel the shift? Words spoken with conviction are not mere vibrations in the air. They are forces that move unseen realms. They are surgery to the soul, pruning to the spirit, fire to the shadows. The work of the tongue is ongoing. Just as the gardener returns season after season, trimming what must be trimmed, so must we return daily to our speech. Each morning, take the sword into your hand. Each night, lay down the scalpel with gratitude. And with each word, carve your life into the shape of divine order. Beloved, the blade is yours. Use it with wisdom. Use it with courage. Use it with love. For your tongue is both sword and scalpel, and with it, you set yourself free. Every journey of resurrection demands a crossing. It is the threshold moment when the soul, trembling yet resolute, steps out of the familiar tomb of yesterday and into the radiance of the new. This crossing is both burial and birth, both surrender and triumph. For the old must be laid down like garments no longer fit before the new can be worn. The law of resurrection is clear. There is no rising without release. The seed does not cling to its shell if it longs to sprout. The butterfly does not remain in its cocoon when its wings are ready to unfurl. The winter tree does not beg to keep its leaves. It lets them fall, trusting that spring will bring new growth. Likewise, you cannot cling to the old self, the old story, the old identity, and expect to walk into the new. There must be a burial before there can be a rising. But hear this: surrender is not defeat. To let go is not to lose it, is to make space for the greater. The world has taught us that to release is to be diminished, yet Spirit reveals the opposite. Surrender is preparation for victory. When you lay down what no longer serves you, open your hands to receive what has always been yours in truth. Consider the exodus of the Israelites. They stood at the edge of the Red Sea, the past pressing against their backs, the unknown stretching before them. They could not remain where they were. They could not return to Egypt, to the chains they had outgrown. They had to cross. And though the waters roared, the sea parted at the decree of faith. So too must you stand at your own threshold, the waters of the unknown before you, and step forward in faith. Crossing into the new requires courage. It requires the willingness to bury the words that have bound you. I am not enough. I am too broken. I am too late. It requires the burial of old patterns, old wounds, old identities. These are not who you are. They are the garments of the false self, and they must be laid in the tomb. Take a moment now. Close your eyes. Picture before you two paths, one leading backward into the shadows of what has been, and one leading forward into the light of what is becoming. Which will you choose? The backward path is familiar, but it is chains. The forward path is unknown, but it is freedom. Now imagine yourself standing at the edge of the water. Behind you lies Egypt, the life of bondage, the echoes of the false self. Before you lies the sea, You hear the call, step forward. Do not fear. With trembling but resolute heart, you step. And as your foot touches the water, the waves part. A way is made where there seemed to be no way. You cross not by your might, but by the law of spirit that responds to your decree. This is the moment of burial as you walk forward, the old falls away. Fear loses its grip. Shame drops like heavy garments to the ground. The identity you wore yesterday dissolves into the sea, and as you reach the other side, you rise. You breathe the air of freedom. You stand clothed in newness. You have crossed. The old self has no power over you. The grave clothes cannot cling to one who has risen. The words of defeat cannot bind one who speaks with authority. You have buried the past, and you stand now in resurrection life. Let us speak it together aloud as decree, the old has no power over me. I lay down what no longer serves. I release the garments of the false self. I bury every fear, every shame, every regret. I cross into the new with courage. I rise into freedom clothed in light, crowned in truth. I am made new now and forevermore. Let these words settle deep into your being. With every repetition, the bridge between the old and the new grows stronger beneath your feet. The tomb of yesterday cannot call you back, for you have crossed. And now, beloved, stand tall. Feel the air of resurrection around you. You are not who you were. You are not bound to what has been. You are the rising one, the awakened one, the one who speaks with authority and walks in freedom. The crossing is complete. The burial has made way for resurrection. The old has no power over you. Every transformation begins with a replacement. Nature itself demonstrates this truth. When light shines, darkness flees. When spring emerges, winter withdraws. When truth is spoken, lies lose their authority. The law of substitution is the eternal decree that no void exists in spirit. Something cannot be removed without something higher taking its place. To cast out fear without inviting faith is to create a vacuum that soon draws fear back with greater force. But when fear is met with the living word of truth, when despair is substituted with hope, when I am weak is declared as I am divinely strong, the old dissolves because it has no soil in which to live. Imagine the human mind as a great garden. If weeds of doubt have taken root, one cannot merely cut them down. They will sprout again, for their roots still cling beneath the soil. The gardener must replace them with strong, nourishing plants, flowers of faith, vines of courage, blossoms of prosperity. The new growth crowds out the old until the weeds have no space to return. Likewise, in the garden of the soul, the lies of limitation are not merely denied, they are replaced. Every falsehood must be uprooted and substituted with the radiant truth of divine identity. The ego is starved by silence, but the spirit is nourished by decree. When the soul falls into worry, the ego whispers, "You must fix this. You must strive. You must control." But if in that moment, instead of listening, you grow silent and lift a decree of truth, I rest in the perfect plan of God. All is unfolding in divine order. The ego starves. It cannot feed on silence, and in its weakness, your divine self grows stronger. Florence Scovel Shinn wrote that every negative word plants a seed in the subconscious, but every positive decree of truth uproots that seed and replaces it with the living seed of God. Thus, the law of substitution is not only a law of removal, but a law of nourishment. You are not merely trying to erase error, you are feeding the soul with truth so that it becomes the dominant reality. Consider a woman who long lived under the lie of, "I am unworthy." Her relationships reflected it, her work suffered for it, and every opportunity slipped from her grasp because she believed she was not good enough to receive it. She tried to suppress the thought, but it returned again and again. Then one day, she learned the law of substitution. Every time the lie arose, she spoke aloud, "I am worthy. I am God's beloved. I am chosen for abundance." At first, it felt like a battle, for the lie was deep-rooted. Yet with every decree, she weakened the old identity and strengthened the new. Months passed, and her life began to reflect her words. New friendships emerged, opportunities flowed, and her face shone with peace. Why? Because truth always substitutes and overcomes the lie. So I invite you now, pause, breathe, and listen inwardly. What lie has been whispering in your soul? Perhaps it is, "I am not enough," or "I will never prosper," or "I am too late." Hear it clearly, for to name it is to prepare its removal. Now substitute. Speak the opposite aloud with conviction. "I am more than enough, for I am one with the infinite. I prosper in every season, for divine supply never fails me. I am always on time, for I move in the rhythm of God's perfect order." Each time you make this substitution, you crucify the false and crown the true. Each time you speak, you train your subconscious to recognize your divine inheritance. This is not denial, it is resurrection. And here is the great secret. The law of substitution is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice, a rhythm of the soul. Every morning, the ego may attempt to plant weeds of fear. But as soon as you awaken and declare, "This is a day of miracles. This is a day of joy. This is a day of divine supply," you substitute the old with the new. Evening may bring a shadow of doubt, but if you rest your head with the decree, "I sleep in peace, for God sustains me and prospers me," you end the day in substitution. This law is eternal. It cannot fail, for spirit fills every space. The only question is, what shall you invite in? Will you allow the ego to crowd your soul with weeds of despair, or will you nourish your garden with flowers of truth? Remember, the lie has no life of its own. It lives only as long as you feed it. The truth, however, is eternal. The moment you speak it, it begins to live in you, grow in you, and demonstrate through you. So let us practice together now. Take a lie you have believed. Write it down if you can. Then beneath it, write the truth. Speak it aloud, not once, but 3 times with conviction. Feel the shift as the old dissolves and the new rises. Do this daily, and the law of substitution will transform your life. For every "I am weak," there is an eternal decree, "I am divinely strong." For every "I am alone," there's a higher truth, "I am eternally accompanied by Spirit." For every "I am lost," the truth declares, "I am guided always into perfect paths." This is the law of substitution. This is the beginning of resurrection. Identity is not something we stumble upon like a coin in the street. It is not something hidden in the attic of memory, waiting to be dusted off and reclaimed. True spiritual identity is not remembered, it is pronounced. It is brought into being not by recollection, but by declaration. For in the realm of spirit, what we speak is what we become. The ego clings to history. It whispers, "You are your past. You are the sum of your mistakes. You are the labels others have placed upon you." It tells you that your identity is fixed, like a name carved in stone, unchangeable, unyielding. But Spirit declares, "Behold, I make all things new." And how is the new made manifest? Not through memory, but through speech. From the first pages of Scripture, we see this law unveiled. God said, "Let there be light," and light appeared. He did not remember light into being, he spoke it. His word carried creative power. Likewise, when Moses stood trembling before the burning bush, asking who should send him, the voice of the Eternal answered, "I am that I am." Identity revealed itself not as a description, but as a declaration. I am is the essence of divine identity, present, living, and pronounced. And so it is with you. You are not bound by who you were yesterday. You are not the prisoner of what others say you are. Your true identity is waiting at the tip of your tongue. The moment you dare to say, "I am strong," strength begins to weave itself into your life. When you affirm, "I am abundant," doors open and provision flows. When you declare, "I am love," relationships shift and hearts soften. Consider a man who had lived under the shadow of addiction for many years. He thought his identity was sealed. "I am broken. I am an addict. I am weak." These words chained him more tightly than any substance could. Then one day, he encountered the power of spoken decree. He began trembling at first to say, "I am free. I am whole. I am strong in spirit." At first, his feelings did not match his words. His old life mocked him, whispering, "You are lying." But he persisted, pronouncing his freedom daily until his subconscious absorbed the truth. Slowly, the chains weakened, circumstances shifted. His body, mind, and spirit began to align with his words. Today, he stands as a testimony to the law of declaration. Identity is not remembered, it is pronounced. Feelings will always lag behind truth. If you wait until you feel worthy to declare worthiness, you will never speak it. If you wait until you see abundance to affirm abundance, you will remain in lack. Identity must be spoken first. The tongue becomes the pen that writes upon the subconscious mind, and the subconscious then orchestrates life to match the decree. Florence Scovel Shinn often taught that man's word is his wand. With every decree, you cast a spell upon your own life, either a spell of bondage or a spell of freedom. The words "I am" are the brushstrokes with which you paint the canvas of your existence. If you say, "I am tired," "I am sick," "I am unlucky," you summon those states into form. But if you declare, "I am vital," "I am radiant," "I am prosperous," you call forth the divine blueprint that has always been waiting to express through you. Think of the human mind as a grand courtroom. The ego stands as the accuser, bringing forth every memory of failure, every scar of rejection, every shadow of shame. The soul trembles, feeling condemned, but then rising within you comes the advocate, the voice of spirit, and it declares with authority, "I am redeemed. I am strong. I am whole." The moment this decree is spoken, the court is silenced, for truth has been pronounced. Your task, then, is not to remember who you once were or to piece together fragments of a broken past. Your task is to speak yourself into being daily, boldly, faithfully. For every time you speak, you step closer to resurrection. Let us anchor this truth in practice. Place your hand upon your heart and say aloud, "I am not my past. I am not my mistakes. I am not the names the world has given me. I am who God declares I am. I am strong. I am radiant. I am prosperous. I am eternal." Feel the vibration of these words. Notice how they shift the atmosphere around you. Every syllable is a seed, and as you speak, it is planted in the soil of the subconscious. With repetition, these seeds grow into towering trees of identity, whose fruit is peace, joy, and abundance. And here is a mystery. Your identity is not a treasure you dig up, it is a river you release. The more you speak, the more it flows. The less you speak, the more it dries. Thus, silence in the face of falsehood is not neutral, it is surrender. You must counter every false whisper with a louder decree of truth. So today, begin again. Do not ask, "Who am I?" Ask instead, "What shall I pronounce? For what you speak, you shall become." Identity is not remembered, it is pronounced. Resurrection does not begin in the grave, it begins in the mouth. Long before the stone rolls away, long before the body rises, long before circumstances shift, resurrection is first spoken. The lips are the altar where the crucifixion of the old self and the coronation of the new takes place. Think of it when Jesus stood before the tomb of Lazarus. He did not wait for the body to stir before speaking. He did not first see evidence of life and then declare life. No, he spoke first. He lifted his voice and commanded Lazarus come forth, and it was the decree itself that summoned the miracle. Resurrection, therefore, is not a reaction to proof, it is the cause of proof. The great error of many souls is waiting for the feeling of worthiness before declaring, "I am worthy." Waiting for money before affirming, "I am prosperous." Waiting for health before saying, "I am whole." But this waiting is a delay of resurrection. For feelings follow faith, and manifestation follows decree. To wait for proof is to live in the grave. To speak before proof is to roll away the stone. Speech is sacred. Every word you utter builds an altar either to your false self or to your divine self. When you say, "I am tired," "I am unlucky," "I am broken," you nail the false self to the cross, but you refuse to crown the true self. Yet when you say, "I am strong," "I am favored," "I am whole," you lay the old identity to rest and place the crown upon your divine nature. In the unseen, a resurrection begins. Consider the story of a man who longed to leave behind a life of scarcity. For years, he repeated the words, "I can't afford it. Money never comes to me. Life is unfair." His mouth was his own prison. His words built walls around him. Then one day, he learned the power of decree. Though his pockets were empty, he began to say aloud, "I am prosperous. I live in abundance. Money flows to me freely and in perfect ways." At first, the words felt hollow, even foolish, but he persisted. Day after day, he declared abundance. Soon, his mind began to expect provision. His eyes noticed new opportunities, and his life shifted. Within months, he was in a new career with financial flow he had never imagined. His resurrection did not begin with the job, it began with his mouth. This is the divine order speech, first manifestation, second. The subconscious mind is like a faithful servant. It listens to every word you speak and accepts it as instruction. If you say, "I am forgotten," it will orchestrate events to confirm it. If you declare, "I am remembered," "I am chosen," "I am celebrated," it will arrange circumstances to prove it. The subconscious is the soil, and your speech is the seed. Whatever you plant will grow, whether it be weeds or blossoms. And so the mouth becomes the battleground of resurrection. Every day, your tongue either keeps the stone sealed or commands it to roll away. Every day, you either declare death or declare life. Scripture tells us death and life are in the power of the tongue. To speak lack is to bury yourself deeper. To speak abundance is to rise. Now let us pause and practice together. Close your eyes. Imagine the stone of your old self, the stone of fear, doubt, shame, lack. See it covering the entrance of your soul's tomb. Now open your mouth and declare, "Stone, be rolled away. I speak resurrection. I speak life. I speak abundance. I speak health. I speak joy. Feel the shift. For the moment you speak, the stone begins to move. Resurrection begins in the mouth. Do not despise small beginnings. Perhaps your words feel weak at first. Perhaps your circumstances mock you. Yet even a whisper of truth has more power than the loudest lie. A seed is small, but within it lies the oak tree. Your decree may feel fragile, but it carries the full weight of divine power. The moment it leaves your lips, the unseen begins to respond. So never wait. Do not wait until you feel it, or until you see it, or until others believe it. Speak now. Speak while you are still in the grave clothes. Speak while the stone is still there. For speech is not the celebration of manifestation, it is the cause of it. Hear me clearly, your resurrection does not begin in the bank account, in the doctor's report, in the opinion of others. It begins in your own mouth. The altar is always within you, waiting for your decree. Therefore, let your words be your crown. Let every I am you utter be a nail in the coffin of the false self and a trumpet of victory for the divine self. Speak until the atmosphere shifts. Speak until the subconscious surrenders. Speak until the grave cannot hold you. Resurrection begins in the mouth. And if you will dare to speak, you will rise. Repetition is the mother of transformation. What the subconscious hears again and again, it accepts as truth and begins to shape life around it. This is why idle speech is so dangerous and why intentional decree is so powerful. A stray word may pass unnoticed, but a word spoken daily becomes law. Think of water carving its way through stone. One drop does little, but a steady flow over time reshapes mountains. So too a decree spoken once may stir the soul, but a decree spoken daily, morning, noon, and night reshapes the very structure of your subconscious. It writes new patterns, establishes new rhythms, and calls forth new realities. Florence Scovel Shinn often said, "Your word is your wand." But a wand must be used with rhythm, not at random. Just as the heart beats in steady rhythm and the sun rises with faithful regularity, so must your decrees find their rhythm. When you speak your truth at dawn, you set the tone of the day. When you speak again at noon, you realign your spirit in the midst of distractions. When you speak before sleep, you seal your subconscious in truth, allowing spirit to work within you as you rest. Let us imagine a day of decrees. In the morning, as you open your eyes before fear or worry can enter, you speak, "This is the day the Lord has made. I rejoice and I prosper in it. I am guided, I am supplied, I am sustained." You have crowned the morning with truth. The subconscious, like fresh soil, receives the first seeds you plant. At noon, when fatigue or distraction seeks to creep in, you pause for a moment. Perhaps in silence at your desk, perhaps walking outdoors, you whisper, "I am aligned with divine order. I walk in peace. I prosper in every step I take." You have realigned the compass of your day. The weeds of worry are uprooted and truth blossoms again. At night, as you lay your head upon the pillow, you speak, "I rest in divine safety. I sleep in peace and I awaken renewed. Infinite supply and perfect love surround me always." Thus, you close the day with resurrection, ensuring that while you sleep, your subconscious continues to nourish the seeds you have sown. This is not mere repetition for the sake of words. This is spiritual reprogramming. The old patterns of fear and lack were themselves written by repetition, years of hearing, speaking, and believing lies. Therefore, the new patterns of abundance and truth must also be written by repetition, faithful, rhythmic daily decrees. Consider the story of a woman who had long struggled with anxiety. She felt as if fear ruled her thoughts no matter how she tried to suppress it. Then she began the practice of daily decrees. Every morning she declared, "I am calm. I am safe. I am sustained by divine love." Every midday she affirmed, "Peace flows through me. Fear has no power over me." Every night she whispered, "I sleep in safety. I awaken in strength." Within weeks, her inner world shifted. Within months, her life reflected her decrees. Relationships healed, opportunities opened, and her face radiated peace. Why? Because repetition carved truth into her subconscious until fear had no soil left in which to grow. To anchor this practice, I now introduce to you the 7-day spoken decree practice. For 7 days, you will speak aloud specific decrees morning, noon, and night. Each day carries its own theme: strength, abundance, love, guidance, peace, health, and joy. Each day builds upon the last, reprogramming your subconscious layer by layer with divine truth. On day 1, you declare strength. "I am divinely strong. I rise with courage. I am sustained by infinite power." On day 2, you declare abundance. "I am prosperous. Supply flows to me freely. I live in the overflow of divine goodness." On day 3, you declare love. "I am love. I give love. I receive love. I live in love's embrace." And so forth until 7 days complete a cycle of resurrection. By the end, you will have spoken 91 decrees into your soul. 91 seeds planted, 91 vibrations released, 91 altars built. This is not mere exercise, it is resurrection. Each spoken decree crucifies an old identity and crowns a new one. Each repetition starves the ego and nourishes the divine self. Each day, with rhythm and faith, you step closer to living in the full demonstration of who you truly are. So I invite you, begin today. Choose your words as a gardener chooses seeds and plant them faithfully morning, noon, and night. For your words are not passing sounds, they are eternal decrees. And when you decree, daily resurrection becomes your rhythm. Every crown is preceded by a cross. Every resurrection requires a crucifixion. This is the eternal rhythm of spiritual law surrender, before dominion yielding, before reigning silence, before song. The ego, however, resists this truth. It craves the crown without the cross glory, without surrender demonstration, without transformation. Yet in the divine order, there can be no true coronation without first laying down the false self. The cross is not a punishment, it is a passage. It is not condemnation, it is consecration. To carry your cross is to allow every false identity to be nailed, every illusion to be surrendered, every lie to be silenced. And though it feels like loss, it is in fact the doorway to life. For only when the false has died can the true rise. Let us look at the greatest pattern of all, the Christ himself. Before the crown of resurrection, there was the cross of surrender. Before the stone rolled away, there was a night of agony in Gethsemane, where even he prayed, "Not my will, but thine be done." The crown was not stolen, not seized, not demanded, it was granted after surrender. So it is with us. Each of us carries within the soul, across the old stories, the false names, the patterns that must die. For some, the cross is the belief of unworthiness. For others, it is the chain of fear, or the mask of pride, or the wound of rejection. These must be surrendered, nailed to the inner altar, if the crown of divine identity is to rest upon our head. Consider a man who long pursued success out of fear of failure. He wore himself thin, striving to prove his worth, yet every victory felt hollow. His crown was heavy, for it was made of ego. One day, exhausted, he surrendered. He spoke, "I release the need to prove myself. I yield to divine order. I allow Spirit to crown me with true success." In that moment, he bore his cross, the crucifixion of the false self. Soon after, his life shifted. His work gained new meaning, his relationships deepened, and joy replaced striving. The cross gave birth to the crown. Pain, when reframed, becomes sacred. It is not the enemy of resurrection. It is its preparation. The discomfort you feel when releasing old patterns, the ache of letting go of what no longer serves you, the silence of the ego when it is starved. These are not punishments, but the sacred crucifixion that precedes your coronation. Just as a seed must break open to release new life, so must your false self break for your divine identity to emerge. Do not despise your cross. Carry it with reverence. For every time you surrender a lie, you are preparing for the truth. Every time you release control, you are making room for divine order. Every time you yield your will, you are aligning with eternal will. The cross is not the end, it is the threshold. Let us reframe pain now. Perhaps you are in a season of loss, a season of waiting, a season where the old is falling away, but the new has not yet appeared. Rather than cursing it, see it as the sacred cross. Say to yourself, this is not the end, it is preparation. This is not death, it is passage. This is not loss, it is transformation. I carry my cross, and I am crowned with life. For the mystery is this: the heavier the cross, the greater the crown. The deeper the surrender, the higher the resurrection. The more falsehood is nailed, the more truth is free to shine. Florence Scovel Shinn often spoke of crossing out the old with words of truth. This is the inner crucifixion, the deliberate act of speaking the false self into silence. When you declare, "I am not fear, I am faith," you are nailing fear to the cross. When you affirm, "I am not lack, I am abundance," you are crucifying poverty consciousness. When you decree, "I am not rejected, I am divinely chosen," you are laying down the old identity to rise into the new. The cross, therefore, is not merely endured, it is embraced. It is the most sacred altar where the ego dies and the soul is reborn. And the moment the cross is accepted, the crown is assured. So let us embrace the rhythm cross before crown surrender, before dominion silence, before song. Say now, I release the false self. I nail every lie to the cross. I surrender the ego. I yield to divine order. And I rise crowned with strength, with abundance, with love, with life eternal. For the cross is but a moment, the crown is forever. Beloved soul, we now step into the holy chamber of practice, the place where word becomes flesh and vision becomes reality. You are invited into a sacred rhythm, a 7-day spoken decree practice, a resurrection journey in which each day you speak life over yourself, casting away the garments of the old and clothing yourself in the brilliance of the new. This practice is both simple and profound. 7 days, 7 themes, 7 decrees. Each day holds its own holy key. Speak the words aloud with breath, with conviction, and with the remembrance that your decree is the hammer of the divine, reshaping your reality. I invite you not only to speak, but also to write. Keep a resurrection journal by your side. Each day, record your feelings, your shifts, your resistance, and your revelations. Journaling is the seal upon the decree. It anchors heaven into earth through ink and intention. Let us walk together, now day by day, day 1. The death of the old self. The first day is burial day. Today, you lay to rest every false identity, every limiting belief, every story of lack, shame, and fear. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of an open field. Before you lies a casket. Inside it are all the names you once answered to that were never yours, unworthy, not enough, too late, broken, unloved. You close the lid. You walk away. Your decree for day 1. I bury the false self. I lay down every name that was never mine. I am no longer bound by the past. I release. I surrender. I am free. Speak it again and again until your body trembles with release. Write in your journal, what names am I burying today? What identities no longer belong to me? Day 2, the silence between death and rising. This day is the holy pause, the Sabbath of the soul. The old is buried, the new has not yet risen, and you stand in the silence. Here you rest. Here you wait without rushing, without fear. Your decree for day 2, I rest in divine silence. I trust the unseen work of God within me. In stillness, I rise. Journal. Where in my life can I trust the unseen? Where can I stop striving and start resting? Day 3, the first light of resurrection. On this day, the first spark ignites. A new dawn breaks within you. You rise not as who you were, but as who you truly are. Your decree for day 3. I rise in divine light. I awaken to my true self. I am resurrected into power, peace, and abundance. Journal. How does it feel to rise? What light do I see shining in me today? Day 4. Walking in authority. Now you stand fully risen, and you walk in sovereignty. You no longer beg, you no longer chase, you command, you decree, you embody. Your decree for day 4. I walk in divine authority. I speak, and it is so. My word is law, for I am one with the word. Journal. Where in my life will I walk in greater authority today? Day 5. Overflowing abundance. Your resurrection is not for survival. It is for overflow. On this day, you decree that your life spills over with joy, wealth, creativity, and love. Your decree for day 5. I live in overflowing abundance. My cup runneth over. All that is mine by divine right now appears in perfect time and order. Journal. Where in my life do I see overflow? Where do I choose to receive abundance with gratitude? Day 6. Blessing others from the throne. As you rise, you bless. Your life becomes a fountain. You bless your family, your work, your community, and even those who once hurt you. For a sovereign needs no revenge, only radiance. Your decree for day 6. I bless all I encounter. My words are seeds of life. I lift others as I rise, for I am overflowing with divine grace. Journal, who will I bless today with my words? Day 7, enthronement, the living sovereign. This final day is your coronation. You step into your throne, not as the wounded self, but as the resurrected self, radiant, powerful, whole. You crown yourself with love. Your decree for day 7. I am enthroned in sovereignty. The old is buried, the new is risen. I live as the resurrected self now and forevermore. Journal. What does my sovereign self feel like? How will I carry this resurrection into the weeks ahead? Dearest soul, this 7-day practice is not a ritual of mere repetition. It is the weaving of a new garment. Each spoken word is a thread. Each journal entry is a stitch. At the end of 7 days, you will stand clothed in radiance, a garment not woven by the old self, but by the divine resurrected within you. As you move through this practice, speak boldly. If resistance rises, speak louder. If doubt whispers, speak longer. If fear trembles, decree until your body knows the truth, you are risen. This is not just a week of words, It is a week of transformation. By the end, the false will no longer fit the old, will no longer bind, and the new will be enthroned. Take a breath, beloved. The journey has begun. Beloved soul, we now move into the chamber of immersion, the place where words are no longer occasional prayers, but the air you breathe. This is the practice of speaking until belief ignites, of declaring, until the body remembers, of affirming, until every cell sings resurrection. Here you will not merely repeat, you will embody. You will not whisper, you will decree. You will not simply think, you will feel. The tongue is the brush, the breath is the wind, and your body is the temple where these decrees resound. I invite you to speak these affirmations aloud, and if you can stand while you do, place your hand upon your chest, your throne of breath. Let your feet root into the earth and your crown stretch toward heaven. Speak slowly, speak strongly, and when you feel resistance, speak again. We will enter into a call and response rhythm. I will speak the decree as though planting the seed, and you respond aloud, watering it with the sound of your own voice. In this way, the decree does not remain external, but is reborn within you. Let us begin. Cycle 1. Death of the old, rise of the new. I declare the old self is buried. You respond, the old self is buried. I declare the false identity has no power over me. You respond, the false identity has no power over me. I declare I rise into the new self. You respond, I rise into the new self. Repeat this cycle 3 times, allowing your voice to grow stronger with each round. Now close your eyes and visualize the old self dissolving like ashes scattered into the wind, while the new self rises radiant as the sun. Breathe this in. Speak again until your body quivers with knowing. Cycle 2. Sovereign identity. I declare I am seated on the throne of my life. You respond, I am seated on the throne of my life. I declare I live from sovereignty, not from wounds. You respond, I live from sovereignty, not from wounds. I declare I speak with authority and my word is law. You respond, I speak with authority and my word is law. Repeat until the words no longer sound like phrases, but like truth echoing through your bones. Cycle 3. Abundance. I declare my life overflows with divine abundance. You respond, my life overflows with divine abundance. I declare I receive without resistance and I give without fear. You respond, I receive without resistance and I give without fear. I declare wealth, joy, and love are my birthright and they appear now. You respond, wealth, joy, and love are my birthright and they appear now. Pause here. Place both hands open before you, palms facing the sky. Imagine abundance raining down, filling your palms until they overflow, spilling onto the earth around you. Whisper softly, now I am overflowing. I am overflowing. I am overflowing. Let it become a chant, a rhythm, a heartbeat. Cycle 4. Divine protection and peace. I declare I am surrounded by divine protection. You respond, I am surrounded by divine protection. I declare, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. You respond, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I declare peace flows through me, unbroken, eternal, whole. You respond, peace flows through me, unbroken, eternal, whole. Repeat this 3 times. As you do, imagine a radiant shield of golden light encircling you, soft, strong, impenetrable. Nothing false can enter, nothing true can leave. You are safe, you are whole, you are free. Cycle 5. Overflow of blessing, I declare. As I rise, I lift others. You respond, as I rise, I lift others. I declare my words are seeds of blessing. You respond, my words are seeds of blessing. I declare every encounter becomes a doorway for love. You respond, every encounter becomes a doorway for love. Now picture the faces of those you love. Picture even those who wounded you. Speak softly, I bless you. I release you. I lift you. This is resurrection not only for yourself, but for the world. Cycle 6, eternal resurrection. I declare the old is gone, the new is here. You respond, the old is gone, the new is here. I declare I live in perpetual resurrection. You respond, I live in perpetual resurrection. I declare, I am risen now and forevermore. You respond, I am risen now and forevermore. Repeat this cycle 7 times. Let it become like a drumbeat inside your chest. Each time you speak, feel the power intensify as though heaven itself joins your voice. Beloved, this is not empty repetition. This is emotional layering. Each time you speak, you add a new layer of belief, a new coat of paint upon the walls of your soul. The first time the mind listens, the second the heart opens, the third the body trembles. By the 7th, you are no longer saying you are being. If at any moment tears fall, let them. If laughter bursts forth, let it. If you feel the urge to move, dance, or shout, let it. This is resurrection. It is alive, untamed, holy. When you finish, sit in silence. Place your hand again upon your chest. Feel the echo of your own voice reverberating within you. Whisper now, it is done. It is so. It is sealed. And it is. Beloved soul, resurrection is not only a moment, it is a way of being. To rise once is sacred, but to live risen, that is sovereignty. Today, we step into the embodiment of the sovereign self, where your life is no longer directed by wounds, fears, or shadows of the past, but by the authority of your divine memory. The sovereign does not plead. The sovereign does not bargain. The sovereign decrees, and so shall you. Living from the throne, not the wound. There was a time when the old self sat upon the throne of your life. That false ruler wore the crown of fear and wielded the scepter of limitation. Every choice it made was shaped by wounds, by past betrayals, by the false story that said, I am not enough. But now look at you. You have risen. You have buried the false sovereign, and today you enthrone the true. To live from the throne means you no longer respond from pain, but from power. When anger knocks, you no longer say, yes, come rule me. Instead, you decree, I am sovereign, I choose peace. When scarcity whispers, you do not bow. You stand tall and affirm, I am abundance itself. The wound once dictated your words. Now your throne shapes them, and what you decree becomes flesh. Walking in abundance, the sovereign does not ask, am I worthy of abundance? The sovereign knows abundance is my divine right. To embody abundance means that you carry yourself as though wealth, joy, and blessing are already present, because they are. You walk into the store as if you own the entire street. You speak to the bank as though you are its benefactor, not its debtor. You approach opportunities not with timidity, but with the authority of one who knows what is mine comes to me by divine order. Affirm now, I walk in abundance. My steps are ordered. Everywhere I go, provision meets me. I lack nothing, for I am one with infinite supply. And as you say it, see yourself moving through your day, buying your groceries, checking your accounts, answering emails, yet with a regal posture, a lifted head, a quiet smile. You are not desperate. You are not chasing. You are sovereign, and therefore abundance responds. Authority in speech. The sovereign identity expresses itself most clearly in speech. Words are no longer casual, they are royal decrees. You do not say, "I hope it works out." You say, "It is done. It is mine. It appears now." When speaking with others, you become intentional. You do not sow seeds of complaint, for the sovereign has no need to grumble. Instead, your tongue plants gardens of blessing. To your children, you decree you are strong, you are wise, you are loved. To your colleagues, you declare, "We prosper together, we rise together." Even to strangers, your words carry weight. A simple peace to you becomes a divine decree that shifts atmospheres. Remember this: every word is law. The sovereign does not waste decrees. Divine memory, living as the resurrected self, means remembering who you truly are. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that man's word is his wand, but also that man's memory of the divine pattern restores all. Your old self remembered every failure, every wound, every shameful moment. But your sovereign self remembers differently. You recall now your eternal origin, that you are the image of the infinite, the beloved of the divine, the heir of all good. Each morning when you awaken, you say, "I remember who I am. I am sovereign. I am risen." Each night before sleep, you affirm, "I return to divine memory. I rest as the true self enthroned in love." This practice rewires the mind. No longer does memory bind you to sorrow. Memory now crowns you in sovereignty. Real-world application. Let us step down from the temple of words into the streets of daily living. How does the sovereign self speak in relationships, in work and finances? In relationships, you no longer chase or cling. You decree, "I am love, I am loved. I attract only those who honor my sovereignty." And so it is. Conversations shift. Old patterns dissolve. Love rises in its true form. In work, you no longer beg for recognition. You decree, "My gifts make room for me. I am compensated richly for my contribution." Suddenly, promotions, collaborations, and new opportunities appear because the world recognizes the authority you carry. In finances, you no longer declare, "I can't afford." Instead, you decree, "Money flows to me in rivers of supply. All that I require is here now by divine right." You do not spend from fear, you invest from sovereignty. Even paying bills becomes an act of abundance, a declaration. There is always more where this came from. Living sovereignly means no part of your life is left outside the throne room. Every moment, every interaction, every exchange becomes an expression of your resurrection. Daily sovereign affirmation. Beloved, let us seal this embodiment with a daily decree. Speak it aloud with your whole being. "I am sovereign. I live from the throne, not the wound. I walk in abundance. I speak with authority. I remember my divine origin. In relationships, in work, and finances, I am enthroned. The old self is buried. The resurrected self reigns. This is who I am. This is how I live, and it is so." Repeat this decree each morning as you rise. Speak it into your mirror. Speak it into your home. Speak it into the world. The sovereign self is not something you visit. It is who you are, day by day, breath by breath, decree by decree. You are not practicing sovereignty, you are being sovereignty. You are not learning to reign, you are enthroned already. This is the embodiment of resurrection. This is the life divine. Beloved soul, when the seed bursts forth from the earth, it does not question, "Have I risen?" It simply grows. And yet for you, walking as the resurrected self, it is both natural and holy to notice the signs of resurrection. For signs are not proof to the doubting mind, they are confirmations to the faithful heart. They whisper, "Yes, beloved, the old is gone. Yes, beloved, the new has come." Let us walk together through these signs so you may recognize them, honor them, and anchor yourself when the old tries to rise again. Inner shifts. The first signs are subtle, inward quiet as dawn. You notice a softness where once there was hardness. You catch yourself pausing before responding, choosing peace where before you chose anger. You feel a strange and holy detachment from old triggers. The words that used to sting now glance off you like arrows against a shield of light. You may even laugh where once you wept. That laughter is resurrection. It is the joy of the risen self who knows death has no sting over me. I have already triumphed. Another sign, a rising sense of authority. You find yourself speaking differently, shorter, clearer, more certain. You no longer plead, "I hope it works." Instead, you decree, "It is so." Your words become simple, direct, sharp, with power, for the resurrected self does not waste syllables. Journal these moments. Write them down. When you see yourself responding differently, record it. For these are the footprints of resurrection walking through your daily life. External confirmations. As the inner shifts take root, the outer world begins to rearrange. Relationships evolve. Some people who resonated with your old self may drift away. Others will suddenly draw near, recognizing the light in you. Opportunities you once chased may dissolve, but in their place, new doors swing wide, and you walk through not as a beggar, but as a sovereign. You may notice financial flow appearing in unexpected ways, a gift, a refund, a surprise increase. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. The resurrected self does not chase money, but money recognizes the sovereign and bows in service. Peace becomes another sign. You may notice that chaos swirls around you, but within you are still. Old storms return, yet they no longer carry you away. This is the peace of resurrection, not the absence of challenge, but the presence of authority within it. When the old tries to rise again. Beloved, let us be honest. Though the old self is buried, it may try to rise again. It may whisper, "You are not really changed." It may bring up memories, reintroduce old patterns, attempt to draw you back into familiar pain. Do not fear this. For resurrection is not undone by a whisper. When the old self rises, it is only an echo, a shadow, an empty shell. You need not wrestle with it. You need only decree. Say aloud, "That is the voice of the old self. I bury it again. I live risen. I am sovereign." And with those words, the false dissolves once more. The mistake many make is believing that the appearance of the old means resurrection has failed. No, beloved. The very fact that you notice it is proof of your rising. In the past, you would have lived it unconsciously. Now you see it clearly, and in seeing you disarm it, anchoring in the new identity. How then do you remain anchored in your sovereign resurrected self? Through words. Always through words. When doubt arises, speak, "I am certain. My path is clear." When fear whispers, decree, "I am safe. I am protected. I am sovereign." When lack knocks, affirm, "My supply is infinite. I overflow now." Words are anchors. Words are swords. Words are your crown and your defense. Each decree pulls you back into throne room consciousness where the resurrected self reigns. Everyday resurrection practices. Here are gentle daily practices to recognize and reinforce your resurrection. Morning decree before rising from bed. Place your hand upon your chest and say, "Today I live as the resurrected self. The old is gone. I rise anew. Mirror throne. When looking in the mirror, do not only see your face, see your crown. Speak, I am sovereign. I am enthroned in light. Financial blessing. Each time you spend or receive money decree, I circulate abundance. I always receive more. Relational sovereignty. Before entering a conversation, whisper, I bless this exchange. My words are seeds of love and truth. Night seal. Before sleep, close your eyes and affirm I rest in divine memory. I wake renewed, resurrected again. These practices are not burdens. They are joys, small daily resurrections, proof that your sovereignty is not fleeting but eternal. Closing affirmation of signs. Beloved, let us seal this teaching with a decree. Speak aloud. I recognize the signs of resurrection within me. I laugh where I once wept. I decree where I once begged. I stand sovereign where I once fell wounded. Though the old whispers, it has no power. I am anchored in the new identity. I live risen. I live sovereign. I live eternal. Say it again. Feel the resonance in your bones. For these are not just words. They are confirmations of what already is. Beloved, the signs of resurrection are everywhere within you, around you, before you. Open your eyes and see them. Open your mouth and decree them. For you are the risen one, and the world now bears witness. Beloved soul, we have walked together through the valley of the old self and ascended into the light of resurrection. We have buried what no longer serves, decreed the rising of the true self, and enthroned the sovereign identity. Now in this final movement, we enter the culminating decree, the ritual of closure sealing and sovereignty. This is no small thing. This is your coronation. This is the moment where you declare with all certainty the old is buried. The new is enthroned. I live daily resurrection. Take a deep, slow breath. Place your hand upon your heart, the eternal throne within you. Straighten your spine as though a crown of light rests upon your head. Let your feet root firmly into the earth, grounding your sovereignty in the material world. We now speak the closing decree. The final decree burial of the old. Repeat. After me with strength, I declare the burial of the old self. Every false identity is laid to rest. Every wound that ruled me is silenced. Every chain of lack, fear, and shame is broken. The old has no power over me. It is finished. It is gone. It is buried. Pause. Imagine now, with the inner vision of your spirit, a coffin lowering into the earth. Inside it are all the names you once carried that were never yours, unworthy, insufficient, too late, broken. See the earth close over it. See flowers bloom where the burial lies. Whisper softly, it is finished. The coronation enthronement of the new now. We turn from burial to coronation. Repeat. I enthrone the resurrected self. I crown myself with divine authority. I am sovereign, risen, eternal. I walk in abundance, speak in power, live in peace. My words are law. My life is overflow. I am the beloved sovereign of the divine. Visualize now a crown of radiant gold and light being placed upon your head, not by your own hand, but by the infinite itself. Feel the weight of it, not heavy, but holy. This is your crown of resurrection. This is your authority. Declaration of daily resurrection. The old self was a single story. The sovereign self is an eternal rhythm. Resurrection is not a one-time event. It is the daily rising of the true self. Repeat. I live daily resurrection. Each morning I rise anew. Each word I speak creates life. Each step I take is sovereign. I live resurrected now and forevermore. Pause. Let these words echo. See yourself waking tomorrow morning whispering, I rise. See yourself walking into every situation, work, family, finances, with the posture of sovereignty. Feel it. This is your reality. A call to sovereignty. Beloved, resurrection is personal, but it is also communal. You rise not only for yourself, but for the blessing of the world. The sovereign does not reign in isolation. The sovereign radiates sovereignty so others may remember who they are. You are called to live daily as proof that resurrection is possible. When you speak, let others feel authority. When you walk, let others sense abundance. When you love, let others remember their own crowns. And so, I invite you now into a holy call to share your testimony. Speak your rising aloud. Tell your family, your friends, your community, I have risen. I live sovereign. Your testimony is not just your story, it is their mirror. To declare aloud here and now in the presence of the divine and the unseen witnesses, I rise. Speak it boldly. Again I rise, and once more, until your voice shakes the air. I rise to join the company of resurrection. No, you are not alone. Countless others are rising with you. Together you form a chorus of sovereign souls, each crowned, each radiant, each living proof that death of any kind cannot hold you. Sealing the work. Let us now seal this practice with a final decree. Speak with all your heart. The old self is buried. The resurrected self is enthroned. I live daily resurrection. I am sovereign, abundant, and free. My words shape worlds. My life overflows with divine supply. I bless all I encounter. I rise and I lift others as I rise. This is my eternal reality. I rise, I rise, I rise. Pause. Feel it seal into your bones, your breath, your very being. Place your hands together in gratitude and whisper, it is done. It is sealed. It is so. Gentle invitation. Beloved, as you close this sacred journey, carry it forward. Share your testimony. Declare I rise in the comments in your journal, in your conversations. Join the community of resurrection, where sovereign souls remind each other of their crowns. Remember, the old has no claim on you. You are enthroned. You are risen. You are sovereign. And every morning as the sun rises, let your first words be, I rise. And so it is.